Get to Old Navy. One day only. Tomorrow. Get dresses for just $8. Plus, snag Old Navy's famous fleece, just $12 for adults, $10 for kids and toddler. Tomorrow at Old Navy and OldNavy.com. Valid 5/25 select styles.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, and welcome to Unlimited Realities. I'm Lisa Zimmer, and I am thrilled to offer you such a very special show today. Many of you may remember when spiritual teacher Debbie Ford passed away 5 years ago. Debbie died from a terminal illness, and while fighting courageously, she wrote a book, of course she did, of prayers that helped her through many of her life challenges. And blessed be, today, on National Women's Day, we get to talk to author Arielle Fords, Debbie's sister, who's promoting this on Debbie's behalf. And we're going to talk about the power of this book, the power of this prayer book, and what a timely coming and launching of this in this time, in this day, in this age that we all need to have some faith and have some buildup of hope. I think this is just such an incredible, timely launch of this book. And then on the second half of the show, we're going to speak with ninth-time Oscar announcer and narrator of Your Holiness, which is the name of Debbie Ford's book. I'm sorry if I neglected that. The name of Debbie Ford's book is Your Holiness. And Randy Thomas narrated that, as well as she's the ninth-time Oscar announcer. She's going to talk to us in the second half hour. So please help me welcome my first guest, author Arielle Fords, Debbie Ford's sister. Arielle, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This is so exciting.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. I was so excited to do your show that I actually got to my desk an hour early. I got the time all wrong. I bounced out of bed and go, oh, it's time to talk to Lisa. And then I called and it was like, call back in an hour. Like, okay.
Oh, awesome. I feel really good. I feel really good about that. I've been very excited about this, and of course Debbie is with us. Her energy is all over here. She's very excited that this is going on, and it's been a very different show to prepare for, I have to tell you, because it's like I got a little assistance from Deb up here. So it's been
Oh yeah, no, she knows what she wants. She'll tell you.
It's a very, very cool show, very cool energy. So, Arielle, talk to me about how this book came into being.
Yeah, I will. It's a very magical story. So I'm sure you're familiar with James Van Praagh. And for the two people listening that don't, he's the world's most famous and highly esteemed medium. He talks to dead people. And he's a longtime family friend. Debbie and I met him in the early 1990s, so we've known him forever. And a little more than a year ago, he called to tell me that he had just moved to San Diego, and he wanted my husband and I and my mom to come see his new house. And then while we were with him, he would give us a reading with Debbie, which was phenomenal because you actually can't buy readings with him anymore. You can go see him on stage in front of 3,000 people and hope to get a reading, but you literally can't make an appointment with him, right? So
he's a master.
He lives 45 minutes away in this beautiful resort-like estate, and we got the whole tour. And then we sat down in his office, and Debbie popped in instantly, and the very first thing she said was, Arielle, you have to write a prayer book with me. And I just said to her, no, I don't think so. I don't want to write my own books, let alone your books, and how would we ever do that? And she was really insistent, and I was really, had my sword in the ground. No, Debbie, I'm not going to do this. And then James says, she keeps talking to me about Minnie. Who is Minnie? And I was blown away, and I said to him, well, James, nobody knows this. In fact, you can't Google this information. But Bo, Debbie's son, has a half-sister named Minnie. And then he started laughing, and he said, oh, okay, now it makes sense. She wants you to tell Bo that when he was with Minnie, she was there too. Now, what was so crazy about this is that Bo lives in San Diego, Minnie lives in London, and she had just been here to visit us the week before. And on top of that, Minnie isn't even her real name. It's her nickname. So nobody on the planet knows this information. So the fact that he so precisely had her was really crazy. And then, of course, all the other dead relatives came through. You know, my two dads and Brian's family and, you know, my mother's soulmate. And, you know, and it was a good reading. But, but Debbie kept coming in saying, Arielle, you have to write a prayer book with me. And, you know, 90 minutes into the reading, we're all kind of tired and hungry, and we had plans to go to lunch. And I knew that this reading was never going to end unless I said yes. So I finally just said to James, I said, I don't know how in the world this is going to happen. You might have to help me. But okay, Debbie, somehow, some way, we'll write a prayer book together. So we go to lunch, we're driving home, and Brian, my husband, says, you know, I spent so much time with your sister. I took her to all her doctor's appointments, her chemo treatments. We got so close, and I remember she told me she had written some prayers. Why don't you get a hold of Julie, and maybe she's got copies. Now, Julie Stroud is the woman who still runs the Ford Institute and is the keeper of everything Debbie. So I get home, and I send Julie a one-sentence email, and all it says is, do you by chance have copies of any prayers that Debbie wrote? And Julie writes me back and says, oh, I can do better than that. She wrote an entire manuscript. I've attached it. So I'm like, what? I was her one and only literary agent. How in the world did she write a book that I didn't know about? When did she write this book? So I open it up. I start reading it. I read the entire book in one sitting. It is spectacular. It's the most beautiful thing she's ever written. And then I pick up the phone to call her editor at Harper One, Gideon Weil. And Gideon is not only her editor, he's my editor, he's James Von Prague's editor, he's Deepak's editor, he's Marianne Williamson's editor, and we've known him forever. So I say, hi, Gideon, it's Arielle. I need to talk to you about Debbie. And he stops me, and he says, I'm so glad you called. For the last 4 years, I've been feeling so guilty. Your sister always wanted to write a prayer book, and I always talked her out of it. And I said, well, today's your redemption. Check your inbox. I just sent it to you. So, of course, he bought it instantly. And then this week, the book has come out, and it's called Your Holiness, Discover the Light Within. And it's just this juicy, love-filled, God-infused, coded book of hope and inspiration.
Oh, I love this. This is just so incredible and how divine. I mean, you know, she doesn't mess around. She comes in, tells you what she wants. She knew she had it done. She knew it was going to be easy. Boom, bang, boom, it's done. And I think this is just incredible. And the really crazy part, the reason I didn't know about it was because she, rather than show it to me, she just went straight to Gideon. And when Gideon turned it down, she just put it away because, you know, in the last couple of years of her life, when we were together, we weren't really talking books. We were talking pain levels and experimental treatments and, you know, what she needed. Right. So it wasn't the conversation about your next book. Or even if she tried to talk to me about a book, I would never let her go there because I knew what her prognosis was. And it was like, you know, what can we do for you in this moment right now? Let's, you know, we'll talk about books later. Okay. So as she was going through her treatment, is this when you believe she wrote the entire book, or was it something
she actually
that you think
wrote it?
She compiled it.
She wrote it before that. She had gone through a very difficult and unfortunate and really horrific relationship, which she actually believed was, you know, what kicked off the reoccurrence of cancer. And every morning she would get out of bed and go into her office and get on her hands and knees and pray to be released from this nightmare she was going through. And that's when she wrote it. So it actually got completed I believe, a couple of years before she got super sick.
God bless her. Okay. Now, in the time in reading all of these prayers, there's a prayer here that is called Drenched in Holiness. And I really
That was her favorite. That was her absolute favorite.
Such a beautiful, beautiful prayer. And I feel like, today is I found it a little ironic that it's National Women's Day, and we've got, this strong, powerful female that we're talking about today, and her essence lives on even in her passing. I'd like to talk about this. I'd like to read it first, and then I'd like to talk about it, because you can feel her through this so much in what she's moving through. And I think it's something that's representative of all of us on our own journey and in what we're moving through today in our lives, and we can all use this. So here we go. It's called Drenched in Holiness. Dear God's Spirit, Divine Mother, on this day I ask you to grant this request. May I know who I am and what I am every moment of every day. May I be a catalyst for light and love and bring inspiration to those whose eyes I meet. May I have the strength to stand tall in the face of conflict and the courage to speak my voice even when I'm scared. May I have the humility to follow my heart and the passion to live my soul's desires. May I seek to know the highest truth and dismiss the gravitational pull of my lower self. May I embrace and love the totality of myself, my darkness as well as my light. May I be brave enough to hear my heart, to let it soften so that I may gracefully choose faith over fear. Today is my day to surrender anything that stands between the sacredness of my humanity and my divinity. May I be drenched in my holiness and engulfed by your love. May all else melt away. That's like lyrics to a song.
Yes. And what she's done with this book is it's a very precise book, because she begins the book with the darkest day of her life, when she was in her 4th drug treatment center on her 10th day, and all she could think about was running away to go find drugs. And she decided to go into the bathroom and get on her hands and knees on this filthy, dirty floor and pray. Just pray for enough strength to stay one more day in the treatment center, because she knew at that point if she didn't give up drugs, she was going to die. And while she was sobbing her little heart out and praying as hard as she could, her prayers were answered. She felt this sense of peace and calm come over her. And she realized that with God's help, by tapping into her divine self, that she could get through another day. So the book is both the narrative of her journey through reconnecting with God and falling in love with God, along with her original prayers and prayers by her favorite poet, Emmett Fox, and some prayers by Marianne Williamson, as well as a how-to version of it, like I can do it, you can do it, and how to use prayer in every area of your life. So whether you're suffering from hard addictions or soft addictions or self-loathing or procrastination or whatever it is that is, tearing at your soul, she has a prayer for it.
Right. And the piece that, I resonate with Debbie so much on so many levels in different ways. And there's that piece, that story that you were telling about when she was on her hands and knees and she was describing how she was a clean freak and how disgusting the floor was, and how, the gray grout is actually black with mold. And I could feel it, her descriptive telling of where she was in that moment was very raw and very real. And that's how she taught. That's how she drew people into her, was by allowing that truth and that vulnerability to be so visible and so transparent.
Yes.
Now,
and I wanted to let you know that her seminal work, The